for highways. Let's go with the agenda. Item 1 is monitoring of executive cabinet member decision. Minutes are enclosed. Any question on this? Councillor Hayes?
Yes, we've got some progress on the Smithills Dean. You may be aware that we've agreed to fund a chicane, and that actually is going to be constructed in a couple of weeks' time when the whole road is resurfaced. So it is progressing quite well. We're obviously still interested in cameras, but that's a longer term project.
Thank you, Councillor Hayes. Anything else?
We'll include that hopefully on the next update when I send it out today. Dwayne will probably update that for next time. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? No, thank you. Item 2 is procurement of enforcement agents for recovering outstanding PCN debts. Is it who's taking it? Is it Dwayne?
I think it was Shane,
Yes.
but
Shane.
perhaps Dwayne's introducing it. I'm not sure.
Shane, please.
Sure. So good morning. I'm here to just go through my report for the procurement of enforcement agents to collect penalty charge notice debts. Has everyone had a chance to go through my report? Has anyone got any queries or any questions or any aspects of the report they want me to go through?
Councillor Grant?
Do you mind just providing just a brief overview first, please?
Yes,
yeah, sure. So we use enforcement agents to collect penalty charge notice debt. So this is within the legislation for collecting PCNs. We're able to use that step. It is the final step we use. Obviously, we've got a process we go through where we issue a PCN, we issue a notice to owner, a charge certificate, and then a letter to warn anyone we are going to look to register the debt before we get to that stage. So there is sufficient time for everyone to appeal the PCN. And the final step is to register that debt and with the Traffic Enforcement Centre and then issue the warrant for the debt recovery. It is a final step, but it is something we have to use, unfortunately, because obviously people don't always pay the PCN. And if we don't have that final step at the end, there is nothing kind of left for us to try and enforce those PCNs. Current contract ends in December this year. So I'm hoping to go through a full procurement to get to issue a new contract in time for the new start date. There isn't really anything else I can go over. Is any questions just around that process?
Thank you, Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Chair. I've got a couple of questions about this, if I may. So first of all, it mentions in the report that the figures are shown, but there's no actual figures. So I was wondering. So I've got 3 questions. I'll go through them all. So I was wondering if you could go through how much has been raised through these penalty charge notices, how much is outstanding. Then I've got a question over the business model. You say there's no cost to the council, but yet all the enforcement agents do is claim the VAT amount. So for instance, if you're saying it's £100 penalty charge notice, they can claim £20. That £20 doesn't seem like an awful lot for a viable business. Letters, agents, home visits, the issuing of warrants themselves. Are we paying something up front for this service? I can't understand how the business model will work.
Sure. So we don't pay any fees to the bailiffs. Obviously, the VAT's recovered. The bailiffs do apply fees directly to the debt. So those fees are tied up in the taking goods legislation. So the bailiffs do recover their costs at that end for applying the fees directly to the debts. In the last year, we issued 5,154 the last financial year through to the bailiffs, and we've managed to recover so far 1,024 of those debts. So that's £105,680 and 95 pence that's been recovered in PCN debt. So that's come directly back to the council. There's still 4,000 tickets outstanding. So obviously it's a final step. It's not collecting more than 40%. I think we're averaging around 35 to 40%. But they've still got those debts. They're still looking through some of those debts. So hopefully some of those will still be recovered. But that's how the fees work. They'll apply their fees at their end directly to the debtor, and that's all tied up in legislation. So they don't set their own fees; it's all legislated.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Sorry, Councillor Hayes.
Yes, thank you. About costs for the council again. I know in other areas we use collection agents, and I'm thinking of things like council tax and so on. I've known quite a few cases where after the bailiffs have called, there's been a reason for not collecting the debt. Hardship or various other issues. So I can't think of a likely parallel in these particular. But in that case, there presumably would be a cost, wouldn't there? Because the bailiffs would still have done their bit, but the council may have decided to waive the debt. Now, is that likely to happen in your area? And if so, who would bear the cost of that?
So if the bailiffs don't collect the debt, there's no fees from the council to pay to them. It just returns to the council. It's just a failed endeavour at the council, at the bailiffs end. So
yeah, but it may be that the council asks them to cancel the debt. It may be that somebody has got particular hardship or circumstances that we feel it's an exceptional case, because obviously some of these ramp up an awful lot when you add the bailiff's fees. But presumably they'll still have done their job, and through no fault of their own, they're not collecting the fee. If that happened, presumably the council would cover the cost of that, would they?
In the current contract we have, we don't. It's just returned to the council, and the bailiffs just take that loss, and that's how we perceive it to go forward. We don't pay any fees to the bailiffs, even if they fail to execute a warrant, and even if that's due to the council requesting it to be returned. There's scenarios where we've made a mistake at the council where we've sent a debt through in error, and even in that regard, we still get it sent back to ourselves, and there's no cost to pay to the bailiffs.
Okay.
Yeah, I think what Councillor Hayes, you're saying is a overall. This is a business model used by bailiffs companies. Even in the private sector, they do the same thing. If they don't recover anything, they don't get anything. So that's, I think, their overall business model.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Councillor Hewitt.
Thank you, Exec Cabinet Member. Yeah, I think that I think as the report spells out in the options, that this is a standard practice, and as long as it takes that liability of cost off the council, then it's good from that perspective. I think that the recommendation is right from officers. It brings us into a line with other authorities for what it's doing. But Councillor Grant asked a question on figures, but what I would like to see from, I think that the core of this in point number 7 around the vision, and what we're really ultimately trying to get out of from these this contract is the better behaviours, the better traffic movements. So it would be good to see perhaps a later report, some digging down into whether or not the desired outcomes are happening from this, that we're getting better traffic movements. And the school keep clear zones, for instance, are not being sort of impinged on, that there aren't sort of problems with traffic flows on sort of main highways into the town, where people are parking sort of 2 or 3 abreast, sometimes in live lane, really, and in bus lanes and that sort of thing. And thinking of Derby Street and St Helens Road, where we've seen it in the past. So it would be good to have sort of on a later report sort of how this contract aligns with those visions, and whether or not we're achieving those outcomes from not just collecting. Don't want to just collect, because in a way that's a failure in a way, but we're having improved movements. I don't know if you want to expand on that, guys.
Thank you. Dwayne.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And it's a good point that you raise as well, Councillor. So last year we brought a report through to a Cabinet Member around civil enforcement. So we've gone out for a further 5 years around civil enforcement, and that civil enforcement, which is outsourced as well, that was the report that captured all of the things that you've just raised there. So obviously we want the residents and visitors to Bolton to park legally. That is the ultimate aim. because of all the advantages that you pointed out there around road safety and around the movement of traffic. That's what we're trying to get to. This report is really just a supportive, because we don't have the resources, and obviously, as Shane's alluded to, there's significant number of PCNs which are refused to be paid. Once we've gone through all the checks and balances, that the only way to recover that income back to the council is via the bailiff. So it's just a supportive service. But you're absolutely right, and I'll ping you over the CEO enforcement report from last year. Then you've had sight of that. Thank you.
No, that'd be useful. It wasn't around last year, so that'd be great.
I didn't want to say that on the meeting, but yes.
Thank you, Dwayne. Anything else? If no further question, then the report is noted and approved as recommended.
Thank you.
And that concludes the meeting.
It does.
Thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Councillors,
Chair.
thank you, Chair.
See you later.
Thank you, members. Thank you. Cheers.